Hey, what's up guys? This is T-Bone here. Welcome back to another episode of playing Gemstone Legends. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about Hannya, who is the newest legendary hero that was introduced as part of the Far East faction hero. And as of the time of the recording, there is still a little bit of a time left before the summoning goes away. I wanted to make a video yesterday when I got her. Unfortunately, I had no power. We had some windstorm, and so I had to wait until today to make the video. So hopefully there's still time for you to determine if you like the hero and decide for yourself whether you want to go for it or not. So what I want to do is I'm going to talk about her skills. I'm going to show you what she's like, and then we're going to use her in various different situations. I'm going to explain mostly her skills because I think this is something that is a little different and will be worth taking some time to talk about. And I do have a code for you for Hannya, so it's Hannya underscore Hannya. So Hannya, you hit confirm, and you're going to get yourself some blue XP dummy and also some blue small dust. So first, let's talk about Hannya. She's a attacker mage type. And what she does is she'll deal damage to the target enemy. So it's an AoE attack, by the way. Deal enemy to a single enemy based on 205% of the attack, and then 10% of the target's missing HP. So 10% of the missing HP is the way you calculate is whatever health the hero has, and let's say it's 1,000, you take it down to 500. With the 500 remaining health, 10% of that's 50, and so that's how much damage you will then deal. So this is also applied to other enemies as well. So this is how it makes it an area of effect type damage. And she'll also inflict sleep. So when you deal damage to them, they will actually go to sleep, which is a very powerful skill. Okay, but then she falls asleep on her own for 3 turns. The passive ability is supposed to make it better by making her receive 90% less damage when she's asleep from abilities and gemstones. So it's supposed to keep her alive longer. And she also will increase her own accuracy every 5 turns, and she restores mana whenever she inflicts sleep. Now, this one is important. It's not the number of turns that of sleep that she inflicts, but the number of enemies that get inflicted with the sleep status, and that for every enemy that gets it, she gets additional mana. So at level 3, with 5 enemies, if they all fall asleep, then she gains a total of 20 mana. So that's how you calculate it. All right. And so taking a look at her skills, one of the first things I did was focus on attack and also with a crusher set to try and get her critical damage to be as high as I can. So I'm at 201% right now. I do also want to make sure that I have accuracy though, because accuracy is super important given the sleep skill is applied to all enemies. Okay, so put some accuracy in there for sure, and then you can decide to put in critical damage or critical rate, whichever way you like. So this is a general sort of setup that I think will work in most situations. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how she works in campaign in Inferno right now. Okay, so we're going to be in Fawnleaf Woods, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this level to showcase Hannya's various different skills and also different situations where her passive ability and her active actually will work out. So it turns out Inferno levels might be a really good level to showcase these heroes. So I'm going to try this and see how it works out. So first what we're going to do is we're just going to show you how it works out when Hannya actually puts her enemies to sleep. So we're going to go ahead and activate her skill, and you'll see that she put 4 enemies to sleep, and I gain 16 mana because I'm at the level where I would gain just 4 mana per sleep status. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and wake up one of the heroes so that so what I want to do is I want to actually show you how much damage we can how much damage we actually receive, and you can see we don't receive very much damage at all. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a difference now on how much damage we actually will receive when she's awake. So we saw it was only a couple hundred, and now we're going to actually see Lian dealing damage to Hannya, and it's in the 5,000s, 7,000s. So we saw that Leanne was able to deal about 7,000, 8,000 just from her gemstone. Let's take a look and see how much damage she'll actually deal when she uses her skill, because I want to see how much difference it makes. So let's take a look. So we're going to get Cersei, and then we're going to see Leanne dealing 19,000 just with her skill. All right, so we've got Leanne that's going to be activating next. We actually had to freeze her, freeze one turn just so I can make sure that Hannya's asleep. But let's go ahead and get them going, and we'll see how much damage Hannya will actually take now from Leanne's skill. And so you can see it went down to just 1,900 from before where it was about 15 or 16. So you can see she doesn't take very much damage at all, which is the benefit of her passive ability. Now, one thing to note is that her ability says that she'll deal damage and then she's going to put enemies to sleep. So originally, I actually thought that what I could do is I could use Assassin's Mark and then use the ability from Hannya to then, detonate it with the damage and then put them all to sleep. But as it turns out, it doesn't actually quite work that way. You can see that they're actually put to sleep first, and then the Assassin's Mark comes into play and then wakes them all up. And so that is something that you have to keep in mind if you're going to pair her with Vepris, for example. It doesn't work in the order that you would expect to. Don't know if it's a bug or not, but that is just the way it actually is. So instead, what you want to do is you want to activate Vepris first, and then you want to activate any other skills that would actually detonate the Assassin's Mark, and then you can go ahead and use that skill. Another thing that is worth noting, because Nika, for example, is one of the heroes that can cast a spell shield, you can actually do something like this where you use a spell shield beforehand, and then you can go ahead and activate Hannya, and what will happen is she will then not actually fall asleep because the spell shield will actually prevent her negative stats from taking place. And so if you wanted to be able to keep activating her skill, you would have to use somebody that can cast a spell shield to do so. And by the way, the team that I actually showcased before didn't have any tanks. As a attacker mage type, Hannya is going to benefit from having a tank with her to protect her, and Najjar is actually a really good hero because of his ability to grant immunity at the beginning of the wave. So I think that he would also be a good hero for you to pair with so that Hannya can be protected while getting some of the immunity for herself as well. So you should try using that in your own fights. All right, so what I showed is a general setup that I think could work in general situations, but the reality is you're going to be fighting in arena, and I've tried the setup that I used in many different arena fights, and I'll be honest, it wasn't quite great. And it wasn't until I switched to using charge gear that I was able to actually make something happen. So I'm going to show you what it's like. So this is just me at a higher level in arena right now. I found that I kind of have to follow this meta where we use charge sets. And so I'm going to use Hannya in here. She is actually quite effective, and we'll sort of see how she sort of plays in arena right now. And so you can see I have basically everyone all charged up. And the idea here is, as I mentioned before, one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't use Vepris' skill right before you use Hannya, and so you have someone in between, such as Marina here, to get rid of, at least to detonate it, and then you can put them all to sleep. Okay, and then you can sort of pick and choose and say, depending on who's actually awake, right, asleep, you can now just kind of target down a single unit here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to attack Nika. And so what's nice here is as they are sleeping, you could just focus down on one hero. Now, one of the things that you could do is you could also go ahead and bring in a single damage dealer. Okay, and what you can do is you can just kind of continue to knock down damage there. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you sort of like what I'm going to how I'm going to play this out, and that is essentially I'm just going to focus on dealing damage to Nika here, and we're going to continue to press and sort of build up the Assassin's Mark on other enemies. Okay. And then you'll see that we will be able to deal quite a bit of damage to them. And having Hannya put 3 turns of sleep in there really, really helps. Okay. And this is essentially the same as having Inula on the team as well. Okay. But the difference is Hannya has a chance and ability to be able to actually deal enough damage to also take out the enemies. And I was hoping to be able to showcase this, but we're going to go ahead and actually just activate the skills here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how Hannya is able to deal damage based on the missing health. Okay, so I don't think we can see the missing health here, but you can see that Alexander is missing most of his health at this point. And if we activate her ability, even though she's up against a green hero, you can see that she was able to deal 10% of her his remaining health, which was, you know, and it ended up being about 800 or so. And so it wasn't quite enough to take it out, but I guess it's something. And so for me, I needed to take control of the beginning of the fight, and so Hannya, you know, helped with her sleep. But like I said, I probably could have done the same with Inula. Okay, so in my previous fight in the arena, I kind of mentioned that it's probably similar if you use Inula. Okay, like you could probably use Inula just the same as you would with Hannya, and this is what I'm talking about, right? So like right now, you can see that if I were to use Inula, I could put most of them to sleep right now, and that just happens that, and it just so happens that you know, they have immunity right now, but I'll be able to deal some damage to them pretty easily still. And the difference here is Inula won't go to sleep herself, right? And so I don't have to actually wake her up, and, you know, I could continue to use Inula in this situation. And so I think for me, I just kind of feel like perhaps that, you know, if you try to pay too much attention to the accuracy, to the sleep aspect of you know, of Hannya, you may end up missing out a little bit too much. And so what I found was I wasn't using a ton of I just wasn't using enough of Hannya's attack ability, and I was focused a little too much on the skill. And so I think you might want to balance a little bit and put more attack in her so that she can actually be useful. Otherwise, I found that because her attack was so low, that she just ended up feeling really weak to me, and I just didn't feel like she was making enough of a difference in terms of her ability. And so you know, it felt like it just a glorified version of Inula, which I don't think is really the intent here. And so for me, I think, you know, what I wanted to show is I like Hannya. I think she's really cool, but she's really difficult to gear properly, and I think you have to make a decision on which way to go. And so I think you want to focus definitely more on the attack and make sure you have some accuracy so that she could be useful. Don't put so much emphasis on the accuracy that you don't end up having any attack on her. Otherwise, I don't think it's going to be I don't think she'll be as useful. And so that's going to be it from me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think. As I learn more about the heroes, I will definitely make more videos and different team compositions. But for now, that's going to be it from me. So thanks a lot, guys. Take care, and I'll see you next episode.